And welcome once again to another exciting episode of the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live. I hope that you had a great weekend. We have got a lot to talk about, including college football. I'm going to give my instant reaction on the games that happened on Saturday. And later on in the show, I'm going to talk about the NFL games as well. We had high school football. Georgia Alabama Sports Live was just about everywhere as we covered some great games. I mean, a lot of games got moved to Thursday night because of the weather, but I'm excited about next week as well. We had a name reveal for the new minor league AA baseball team in Columbus. I will get into that as well, and we're going to have a great show. Just a reminder that you are listening to us on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key. You can catch an episode Monday through Friday from 2 to 3 on 99.1, as I've been on that station for about 2.5 years. It's been just a great weekend. I mean, we had Soul Fest at the Columbus Civic Center. The Gabby Awards were at Jekyll Island. Congratulations for the WRBL team for their documentary and basically all the things that they have done. Same with WTVM. I know that as a broadcaster, I've been back in the game for about 4 years now, that being nominated for a Gabby would be an honor. And I know that that is a personal goal of mine, is to someday win a Gabby. But, they do have a new platform. A lot of old school media still think that in order to be a member of the media, you've got to work for either a TV station or a radio station with call letters. And I think that the game has changed. I mean, what we have done for Georgia Alabama Sports Live is really elevating and taking it to the next level. But it's just another goal that I just got to put on as a personal goal to try to get there someday. I do want to start off talking about the new minor league baseball team that got named on Friday. They had the reveal at the Columbus Trade Center, and there's a lot of mixed reviews about the name. I'm actually going to throw up this graphic because we have a name. It's called the Columbus Cleanstones. My first reaction to this name was, that's not a good name. In fact, it's kind of silly. But I took some time to think about this. And by the way, a lot of people are completely ripping this name. This is a horrible name. What were they thinking? They had an opportunity to have like a really cool name. And there are some people out there that think that because of a silly name like this, that this could affect ticket sales, that people in Columbus might not go to the ballpark because they don't want to be involved with this type of name. And first of all, I like the colors. The logo's not bad. The Cleanstones, yeah, we're still going to support this team. I still am going to go to games. I'm still going to talk about the Cleanstones on my podcast. You have to remember, they are in the Southern League where we have other team names that are kind of silly. The Pensacola Blue Wahoos, the Rocket City Trash Pandas, the Biloxi Shuckers. Look, they wanted to be creative because a Cleanstone, it has ties into peaches, and they interviewed the general manager, Pete Lavin, of the Columbus Cleanstones, and he talked about just the origin of Georgia being the peach state, that Columbus is where the first Cleanstone was, and they trying to build it back to the heritage of Columbus and comparing it with Georgia. But why not call them the Columbus Peaches? I mean, a lot of people don't even know what a Cleanstone is, but I'm still going to support this team. I'll still get merchandise. It's really a mixed reviews. I see people in the media completely trashing this name. I see people saying, well, give this a chance. It can grow on us. And I think that regardless of what the name is, because, by the way, no matter how bad you hate the name, they're not changing the name. So let's just get that out there. The name's not changing. But the Columbus Cleanstones will be playing April the 15th at Synovus Park against the Pensacola Blue Wahoos. I hope to be there. maybe in a media capacity, possibly as a fan. Regardless if I get media credentials or if I'm there as a fan, I'm going to support the Columbus Cleanstones in 2025 as they make their debut in that beautiful park that I've seen sketches of, Synovus Park. I still wish they could call it Synovus Park or Synovus Field at Golden Park. That I think that would have been nice because you want to hold on to that heritage of historic Golden Park. I hope that they remember the past and remember, like, on the Wikipedia page, it has like Synovus Park. It tells you who was the tenant there. It says formerly Golden Park. I want them to remember the Columbus Chattahoots and the Chattahoochee Monsters, because for 3 seasons in the Monsters for One, the Columbus Chattahoots paved the way for minor league baseball to come back to the Fountain City. And that first year, went to a couple games, went to the championship game. Year 2, I ended up getting a lot of tickets from the radio station. Thank you, Ryan O'Neill, for that. And then year 3, I got to fulfill a lifelong dream, getting to call baseball on the radio. And it was just something that I will never forget and I could take with me for the rest of my life. As for job offers for the Columbus Cleanstones, yeah, I already went on their website. I'm kind of curious about who their play-by-play announcer is going to be. I'm not necessarily saying that I would be interested in doing it because, I understand that it's a full-time job, but they're probably going to take the play-by-play announcer who's currently for the Mississippi Braves. I mean, that's just my opinion on that. All right, let's go ahead and take down that graphic. I know that you like the colors. I'm thinking about, I'm digging the vibe on the colors. I mean, the colors are pretty cool. The uniforms are pretty cool. Some people just don't like the name. I don't know. Let's take that down. All right. I'm going to get into the college football reaction. Primarily, this is actually being broadcasted on Sunday right before kickoff for the NFL, because I do have an instant reaction on... I'm going to do 10 games for college football, and I'll have some quick hitters. And then I will also make a projection for the college football playoff like I do. I think I might do that every other week, or I'll probably save that for next week. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and talk about the first game that we have on the slate, and that is going to be the game that I kind of figured it was going to be a blowout. I didn't really get much out of this game. I know that Carson Beck is amazing. He had 5 touchdown passes, and also, that's tied for the school record. I mean, I know he was trying to go for 6, and Trevor Etienne was back in the fold. It was good to see him play a game. Georgia's got to get ready for Kentucky next week. Kentucky got boat raced by South Carolina. I don't know how good Kentucky is, and Georgia's always played well in Lexington. Then they got the bye. Then they take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. And let me tell you something about Alabama. That's going to be the next game. 42-16. Pay no attention to the score. This was 14-13 going into the fourth quarter. I mean, think about that. It was 14-13. Alabama ended up waking up. Their offensive line, Caden Proctor, Elijah Pritchett was out. Well, Elijah Pritchett did play later in the fourth quarter, but Jalen Milroe was running for his life. South Florida made the plays necessary. They forced the turnovers, and it was 14-13, and now Alabama fans are panicking. Could this be it? Could South Florida actually beat us in Tuscaloosa? No unranked team has beaten Alabama in Tuscaloosa since 2007. This was a big night for Alabama. They honor Nick Saban. It's now going to be called Bryant-Denny Stadium and Nick Saban Field. And they showed Nick Saban up in the press box, shaking his head. I mean, he was in disbelief. And then Alabama woke up. and put up 28 points in that fourth quarter. And there was a moment in the game. Alabama's up 21-13. South Florida is driving. There's a big targeting penalty. South Florida is like right at the goal line, and it's a fourth down. So decision time, because if you go for it and if you don't make it, well, you pin Alabama back. But if you make it, you still got to go for two to tie the game. Well, Coach Golish for the South Florida Bulls decided to kick the field goal. I don't think that was the best decision, because you knew that Alabama's offense was going to wake up eventually. And then Alabama did their thing. 2 quick scores and the game was over. And that 17-year-old freshman, Ryan Williams, is sensational. Yeah, even when the offensive line was a little shaky, Alabama still got to work on some stuff. Because if they play like they did the first 3 quarters against South Florida, they will lose to Wisconsin next week up in Madison. Alabama still is great, but I still see a big difference between Nick Saban and Kalen DeBoer. You remember when Alabama would make a big mistake and Nick Saban screaming on the sidelines? You don't really see that with Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer is a little bit more relaxed. But Alabama is still talented enough to win a lot of games and make the college football playoff. In fact, I got them in the college football playoff for my next projections. All right, let's take that graphic down. The noon kickoff game between Syracuse and Georgia Tech. I had high hopes for Georgia Tech. They were coming into this game 2-0. They were ranked. I really liked the quarterback battle of Haynes King going up against Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord is just awesome. 4 touchdown passes. He looked special. And Syracuse, they could be a big hitter in the ACC. Fran Brown got a pretty good team. And big shout out to former WTVM sports director Jonathan Hoppe and his alma mater, Syracuse Orangemen, getting a big win over Georgia Tech. Now he's at Birmingham. And Georgia Tech going to have to regroup. I mean, there's really not a whole lot that Georgia Tech could say, well, we could have won this game. They could have easily won this game. Syracuse did put it away. Georgia Tech kind of made it interesting. But you got to remember, this was a road ACC game, and Georgia Tech was playing a very special quarterback. I think that Georgia Tech is gonna bounce back. All right. The big noon kickoff game, this wasn't a shocker at all for some of you who believe that Texas is a national championship contender. They do it again. Quinn Ewers goes on the road and beats a ranked team, a top 10 team. Texas punched Michigan in the mouth. I actually was looking for the strength. The Texas offensive line going up against the Michigan defensive line. Michigan has one of the best defenses in college football. Michigan was supposed to be the team that was supposed to be more physical, that was supposed to dominate Texas A&M at the line of scrimmage. I did not see this. I saw Texas just doing their thing. And Quinn Ewers, I mean, there is no doubt in my mind that Quinn Ewers is the quarterback. And they're going to be fine because they got Arch Manning in the waiting. I got Texas as one of the college football playoff contenders, maybe even winning the SEC and possibly winning the national championship. If it's not Georgia, if it's not Ohio State, why not Texas? And I think that Texas can win the national championship. And it is safe to say that Texas is back. You remember the Mac Brown years with Vince Young? I mean, Texas is definitely back. And this was a huge win. I'm talking this win really solidified what Texas is in college football. And it kind of downplays Michigan as the defending national champions. Like, well, they can't do without Jim Harbaugh. They lost a lot of players on that team like Blake Corum and J.J. McCarthy. But Michigan still is a good team. And this brings a lot of question marks. How can you lose a game like this in the big house? Anyway, We're going to have some quick hitters. Let's see. Georgia Southern, they end up getting the win over Nevada 20-17. They are now 1-1 on the season. Troy, they took one on the chin. They're now 0-2. They lose to Memphis 38-17. Memphis now, I do believe that Memphis can be one of the group of 5 teams that makes the college football playoff. Louisiana, they spoiled Kennesaw State's homecoming at Fifth Third Bank Stadium in the FBS as they win 34-10. And let's see, we got probably the biggest upset of the night. Northern Illinois goes into South Bend and knocks off the number 5 Fighting Irish. Oh my goodness. I could not believe this game. I am stunned. And yeah, I could easily put Northern Illinois as the group of 5 team that makes the college football playoff. This impresses the college football committee. I mean, their resume now looks good, but they still got to play NC State. I mean, I don't think Northern Illinois is going to go undefeated, but it just depends on who is going to be undefeated in the group of 5. Later that night in the Duke Mayo Bowl, or the Duke Mayo Classic in Charlotte, North Carolina, Tennessee looks good. Nico Iamaleava with 3 touchdown passes. Tennessee's got a quarterback. I know they had quarterbacks before, Hendon Hooker, Joe Milton. This kid is special. And if he plays like this, the way he played against NC State, Tennessee could be a threat in the SEC. They still got to play Alabama. They still got to play Georgia. Imagine if they win those games. I still think if you lose to Alabama and Georgia and you win out the rest of your games, you're still a college football playoff team. I have Tennessee in the college football playoff. I'm very impressed with Tennessee. And the primetime game that had the most viewership and it was the most hyped was Nebraska and Colorado. Unfortunately, Nebraska is just the better team, and they punched Colorado in the mouth 28-10. Dylan Raiola looked special. He outplayed Shedeur Sanders. I mean, Shedeur Sanders made a bonehead pick 6 in the first quarter. He got benched. I think that the hype is over. I think this game proved that Colorado does not belong with the elites. And I'm not quick to say Nebraska is back just yet. I don't think they'll ever duplicate 94 and 95, where they had the most amazing run in college football. And you could throw 97 in there too, because that was a dynasty. Nebraska is going to be one of those teams, because they got the quarterback right in Dylan Raiola, that they are going to be one of the top teams in the Big Ten. And then the last game I want to do, look, I'm sorry, Auburn fans. This was a game you should have won because you were taking on an inferior opponent in Cal. I'm from California. I know how much passion they have for Cal football in the Bay Area. They don't. I was actually shocked to see fans make that trip all the way to the Plains. Auburn commits 5 turnovers. You cannot commit 5 turnovers when you're taking on an academic school who doesn't beat themselves. And Peyton Thorne had 4 interceptions. Some of them were just bonehead mistakes. It's time to bench Peyton Thorne. I think that you need to see what you got in maybe Holden Grenier. But I do think that Auburn, they have got to, there's no margin for error, because I thought this team was going to finish 5-0, and you lose to a Cal team that you're supposed to beat. You're a 2-touchdown favorite. You're supposed to beat Cal, and I don't know if this is Auburn's really bad or Cal is actually really good. Cal has had players in the NFL. I mean, not just quarterbacks. I mean, you've had Jared Goff, you had Aaron Rodgers, you've had Marshawn Lynch. Cal has put players in the NFL. It's just that they have never really been a college football powerhouse because of, the conference they're in and the fan base in the Bay Area. I mean, maybe this is not as shocking as I thought it would be, but I do think that Auburn's margin for error now is even slimmer. But you have to make the change at quarterback. They should have ran Jarquez Hunter even more. in the game, and all those costly mistakes. I love the receiving core. Yeah, Cam Coleman did get injured on that final play where Peyton Thorne threw that interception. Actually, he threw another interception after that. They had 30 seconds left to go. They got the ball back down 21-14. There was a costly turnover. Hunter ended up fumbling the ball, gave Cal great field position. I thought if it wasn't for Auburn's defense keeping them in the game, Auburn had their chances to put away this game because they were the better team than Cal. It just, unfortunately, the breaks didn't fall their way. I still think Hugh Freeze is a good coach. I still think they bounce back and they beat New Mexico. They might even, I think going into the Georgia game, now I'm seeing they're going to be 3-2. I felt like they had to beat Oklahoma and they had to start 5-0. Actually, the way Oklahoma struggled against Houston, I think that there's a possibility that Auburn could win that game against Oklahoma, but they got to get the quarterback right. I think it's time to see what your young quarterbacks have because Peyton Thorne is done. You know what Peyton Thorne reminds me of? I hate to say this. If you're a Falcons fan and if you are an Auburn fan, I'm sorry. He reminds me of Desmond Ridder. I even said that on my social media, and I didn't get any traction. Nobody liked it or hated it or anything. But that's just my opinion. I think that he does remind me of Desmond Ridder. Well, this portion of the show has been fun. Stay tuned for tomorrow. I will have my NFL reaction show. I'll talk about Major League Baseball, the WNBA. Angel Reese is out for the season. What does that mean for the viewership? I'll also dig into a lot of the local stuff that happened, including Fountain City FC, Columbus State Lady Cougars. I'll break down all the local teams. West Georgia was taking on Abilene Christian. Mercer ends up getting a big win. LaGrange loses to East Texas Baptist 57-12 in their opener. And Point ends up losing to Lindsey Wilson 33-20. And there's just so much to get into here on the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge. We're going to go ahead and sign off for this portion. And then don't forget, we will have the NFL reaction show tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.